Imagine this. It's a cool night in New York City in 1964. In a quiet residential neighborhood, the desperate screams of a young woman suddenly fill the air. Over 30 neighbors can hear her cries, windows open, lights flicker on, but no one comes to her aid. The woman is Kitty Genovese, and on this night, she is brutally murdered. But her death goes beyond an ordinary crime. It becomes a case that will forever shape psychology and our understanding of human behavior in emergency situations. The phenomenon that emerges from her death is known as the bystander effect. Today, we tell the tragic story of Kitty Genovese and the psychological mechanism that made her case a turning point in research. On March 13, 1964, 28-year-old Kitty Genovese was returning home at around 3 a.m. She worked as a bartender and was used to coming home late. Kitty parked her car near her apartment building in the Kew Gardens neighborhood of Queens. But as she walked the short distance to her apartment, she didn't notice that a stranger was following her, Winston Mosley, a man on the hunt for a victim that night. As Kitty reached her building entrance, Mosley suddenly attacked her from behind. Kitty screamed for help, her voice piercing the silence of the night. "Oh my God, someone help me." In the surrounding apartments, neighbors heard her screams, and some opened their windows to see what was going on. One person shouted, "Leave that girl alone." But nothing more happened. Mosley stabbed Kitty, but when he noticed lights turning on and realized people might be watching, he initially fled. Kitty, severely injured, managed to drag herself to the back entrance of her building, where she collapsed. But the silence returned, and no one came to help. A few minutes later, Mosley returned, realizing no one had intervened. He found Kitty still alive and attacked her again, this time finishing the job. Kitty died from the wounds Mosley inflicted on her, and all this while more than 30 people had heard her screams and even seen the lights go on. None of them called the police, and no one intervened. The brutality of the murder and the fact that so many people witnessed the crime and did nothing shocked the city. But what came next was just as disturbing. When the police questioned the neighbors, almost every one of them admitted to hearing her screams. Some had even watched. But why did no one call the police? Why didn't anyone help? These were the questions that led psychologists and sociologists to examine the behavior of people in groups more closely. Shortly after Kitty Genovese's murder, the case captured the attention of the media. The coverage was harrowing, and it made headlines worldwide. Newspapers printed shocking headlines like, "38 who saw murder didn't call the police." This fact shook the public's faith in human solidarity. The case sparked outrage, but it also raised a deeper question. Why does human compassion fail in such situations? Two psychologists, John Darley and Bib Latane, were particularly fascinated by this case. They decided to investigate the phenomenon that would later become known as the bystander effect. They wanted to understand why people in a group often hesitate to help someone in need. Their research revealed a shocking truth about human behavior in emergencies. Darley and Latane conducted experiments showing that an individual's sense of responsibility in an emergency decreases as the number of people present increases. This means that if one person witnesses an emergency alone, they usually feel responsible and take action. But when a group of people witnesses an emergency, each individual feels less responsible, assuming someone else will help. This phenomenon, known as the diffusion of responsibility, is a key element of the bystander effect. The larger the group, the less likely it is that someone will step in. The bystander effect became a fundamental concept in psychology and offered insights that deeply impacted society. Psychologists found that a kind of social paralysis prevents people from acting when others are present. Darley and Latane's research led to a greater understanding of how group dynamics influence individual behavior. Kitty Genovese's murder also led to practical changes. In the United States, the 911 emergency system was improved, allowing people to call for help more easily and quickly. Social initiatives were launched to encourage people to take responsibility in such situations. Awareness of the bystander effect also helped promote campaigns to foster civic courage and the importance of intervening. The tragic story of Kitty Genovese shows how deeply human behavior can be shaped by psychological mechanisms. Though she lost her life in a brutal way, Her death led to a shift in societal thinking and helped expand our understanding of human behavior in emergencies. She became a symbol of how vital it is for people to stand up for each other and take responsibility, even when others are just watching. If you found this story as captivating and moving as we did, please consider subscribing and giving us a like. On our channel, we share more compelling and psychologically intriguing stories. Don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss any of our stories, and stay tuned for the next video.